Politics, federal, municipal, tariffs. There's a hell of a lot going on here in Halifax, so let's discuss. So Jacqui, you took time out of your busy day. I totally appreciate that. Thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
So now that our election is over, thank goodness.
Yes.
And by the way, I was going to put a blue jacket on today because she had, and then I thought, well, anyway.
I think it would have sent a bad message.
I think so. So with the political tensions that are happening to the south of us, have you gotten an influx of phone calls, etc., from Americans wanting to move?
So after Trump was elected last time, I got more calls than this time. I have received a few. Last time I did do a few moves. This time so far, no. We do have a few more regulations now than we did before, so I don't know if that's part of it too. Because if people move up here, if where they can move depends on if they're actually, are you immigrating? Do you have a job? It's not as easy as it used to be anyway if they truly want to relocate. Yep. So I think that's playing a part. But I see more issues in my higher end bit of business in terms of people stalling on decisions, because I find these people are the ones that are in business and they don't want to make big investments or maybe moves and changes if they don't know what's going to happen in their businesses in the future because there's volatility.
So that's interesting because we've been having those conversations here at home. I find anything that is, I don't know, over 1.8 million, that's a different buyer with a different portfolio. And yes, I believe they are stalling and they're not as quick to make moves. But I don't think the tariffs has played a role in anything sub 800.
I agree.
First-time home buyers, they're just out.
They're just trying to get in.
Interesting enough, there are several Americans who are looking at properties. One of our websites, it tracks the IP address of the city that people are coming in, are looking at the property. So they are there, but you're right, it's not as easy as it was. The foreign buyer ban, I believe, is on to 2027.
Yes.
Yeah, and but sellers still, I still get sellers like, what are you doing to advertise to Americans? I mean, at the end of the day, it's Google, right? I mean, I don't think, the public would know LePage or whatever. They know Google Homes for sale in Nova Scotia. I just don't see the influx that sellers are hoping for.
I agree. I think it's, when you explain the nuances, if you just move here because of the foreign buyer ban, they have to be in a rural area. Well, that's not for everyone. No. And then even if they hit some kind of an exception, then they still have to it's a big decision to just move here versus become a full resident. Yes. And if you're not a full resident, then of course you pay.
Oh yes, right into our lovely D transfer tax. It's so funny, when it came out 5% a few years ago, like I was all over it, like, flies to wax paper, trying to fight it. Because we didn't really it wasn't affecting us here. And now the 10% D transfer tax is still not affecting us here, and I know it's a great sound bite for our government, but we don't need it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would say I had a few buyers since it was implemented pay it reluctantly because they were buying homes for kids going to school or whatever reasons. I had more people decide not to buy based on having to pay that extra 5%. But the 10%, I think they're going to make less revenue than the 5%. Because those people that did go ahead and say, okay, we'll bite the bullet, we'll pay your extra, which is 6.5 because 1.5 for unless they're in, whatever.
Oh, it's 11.5 now.
Yeah, so now we're 11.5. Before it was 6.5. So because of that, I think that line item that they're expecting to be a big revenue source, I think we're going to see it plummet to lower levels than the 5%.
I agree, and I mean the talk about it now is that we need to open up preferential trade. So the D transfer tax is not for Americans; it's for anybody who lives in Canada. Who is moving to Nova Scotia and purchasing a house. If they don't move here within 6 months, they are charged with an 11.5% D transfer tax. So back, not so much now, but when the rents were less than 1%, you had little Jimmy who was coming from Ottawa to go to university, nowhere to live. So their parents were buying a home. And now that, I believe our vacancy rate is at 2% now, so we're a lot better.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be buying anymore. So I don't think that market was competing with anybody local.
I agree with you. That not in what I saw anyway. I know that they were trying to curve investors. Ironically, a couple of the people that bought still bought, if that was the right thing. So it didn't deter them. It was people that had family here that wanted to have a house for the future, for retirement. Those are the ones that said, I don't want to pay that extra.
But how about if I have a child and I, passed my home on to the kids and they can't move here right now? And if the kid is from Nova Scotia, they shouldn't have to pay that 11.5% D-transfer tax. Like, Laura, what are you thinking? So I get the sound bite, right? It does sound good. We're trying to, stop competitive offers. The only thing that's going to competing offers is anything sub 600 for the most part.
And I do think that a lot of the people that would be buying and not residents, these are the people that enjoy the lifestyle that allows them to have secondary properties, right? So where I think will be affected the most are things like vacation homes, right? The South Shore, because who's going to be spending $1.5 million on a vacation home plus 11.5%?
I know, it's crazy. So that makes no sense to me what they've done. And so getting from the deed transfer tax, the other thing that the sound bite they did was the Airbnbs. Has the regulations impacted our listing inventory?
I don't think so. Not, at least to me, not in a meaningful way. When you look at the numbers, there is a high demand for entry-level market. Let's call that up to 600,000 in the city, because that's right around our average. So I think that's fair to say. The demand for that product continues to be high. And will continue to be high. That makes up the most of the sales that we've had year to date this year, last year, and I think that will be our future, that whatever that amount is. And the Airbnbs, I don't think that we had all of a sudden, an influx of either people kept them for, either they converted to a long-term rental, maybe some people sold them, but it definitely didn't bring in now we just have all this affordable housing in terms of the outcome.
No, and who's Laura having talks with? Seriously. So this is not putting them down, but I just don't understand the logic. With boots to the ground, like both you and I are, and we do a lot of listings, nothing makes sense to me.
I just think that it was a little grasping at straws for solutions, because we have such a housing crisis. I think that's fair to say. And more than a housing crisis, that's one part of it, but affordability is the other part. But unfortunately, not everyone is in the position to buy a home. So even if some of this inventory comes in, available in certain areas, it doesn't mean that the people that need it the most are going to be able to access it. Right?
I know. It's and then you get into now they're like, okay, when it comes to municipalities, and the water setbacks, you're on your own. What are your thoughts?
It's a little bit of a cop-out. I understand you want to be aware. They've got some pretty lofty goals looking at their proposal. I think right now it's 13% of the coastline is protected, 13.1. They want to get up to 20%. That's a big chunk. They haven't put in hard and fast rules around regulations across the board. That's up to you. But if your home gets destroyed, they're going to probably fight you a little bit tooth and nail to rebuild, I would assume, before giving you your permits and all of that. I think it's one of those things too that it sounds good, but how many people is it impacting, and what does it mean?
So we just bought a piece of land down in Lunenburg, and it impacted the seller greatly because they were listed at close to 400, and they sold it for almost less than 50% because most of the land, they were at 2.7 acres. They were probably down to an acre and a bit about time you took off the Coastal Protection Act, because we can't use it. So what, you're going to charge me for land that I can't use? So anyway, but the process was quite easy. Believe it or not, we had someone come in and survey the land, like up from the water's edge to where our house should be. I was surprised how easy Lunenburg made it, which is nice. And so I get I understand why it's there, but I think the municipalities, well, I guess you can't brush every shoreline the same.
Fair enough. Yes.
But I do think there needs to be some consistency in the rules of what you're going to place, like all across the province, so we all understand it. Because there's nothing worse than going to one municipality to the next, just trying to understand things.
Definitely. And the longevity of their goals to try and get to a certain place, and what does that mean? Because part of the reason is climate action, erosion, all of these things we expect to have a little bit more impact to our coastal lines. So you would think that having a grand sort of plan to at least have a guideline for the municipalities would be an idea.
I'm not saying they're doing a bad job. Okay, we're not putting down the government. No. But we might need them one day. So no, we're not putting them down. It's just don't understand.
Yeah, there's a few things like that, and I understand there's so many mandates to cover. There's so many things to cover, right? Yeah. I do like the effort, I guess, of in some cases, but when it's half done, you sort of wonder, well, what are we doing here?
I'm with you. And don't get me, I'm ranting today. Have you noticed?
I like it. Bring it on. Let's do it.
Remember we spoke last year of those buyer investor seminars?
Oh, yes.
Sacred Heart. They're on again.
Yes.
I see that and I get so mad. The newfie comes right out in me. I don't want people in Nova Scotia wasting their money on those courses. Like they're horrible.
I laugh a little bit every time I see them, because it's preying on the type of person that wants to do something but isn't in a position to. Like I saw an ad on Instagram the other day, and it was for a Halifax investment one, I think, coming up in a couple weeks, and it was saying you don't need no credit, no money, we'll teach you how to do it. No credit, no money. Oh yeah.
You know what? I always write comments underneath the bottom of it because I get so angry. Because there aren't all these foreclosures that are happening in the city. If there are foreclosures, they're outside the city. But at the end of the day, as real estate agents, we're not given a list, XYZ property is going to be foreclosing. They go to the sheriff's office, right? Yep. And where there's an auction or whatever it is that they're doing there. And sometimes the properties aren't great. You're not calling up a realtor looking for a list of foreclosures.
No.
It's like, hen's teeth.
And to go back to what we were saying about the entry level of the market being the most demand, that's where you would normally see the most opportunity, right? To be able to take a home that maybe doesn't need a whole lot of structural work, but cosmetics, and it can make it better and make it worthwhile. Well, those are few and far between these days, unless you're above the average price point, which is a tougher investment, because once everyone pays a deed transfer tax in Halifax of 1.5%. That's a non-negotiable cost. Yep. You've got lawyer fees. That's just the cost to get in, right? Not, so the fact that they're trying to teach this like flip method on, especially the single family homes, and apartment buildings, they're evaluated based on cash flow too. So it's not like you can just go in and trick someone into a lower evaluation. It's based on your cash flow.
How are they real estate industry specialists? You don't know the Nova Scotia market. You're not boots to the ground. Yeah. How can you get up there and charge someone for a course that you know nothing about?
Yeah, it just the ads. Every time I see them, right now I've got an apartment building on the market, so I'm just like, oh great, the inquiries already.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. See, that's why I drink tequila. Well, Jacqui, so here we are, April 2025. My last question of the day for you.
We're in May,
We're in May.
It's
been a day.
Yeah.
It's been a day, and it's May 2nd at that. Where do you see us by September?
Well, I think I'm going to use the B word. I think we're going to be balanced.
Oh, we are.
I think we're going to continue along that
I was trying to think of what the B word was going to be.
For me to use to you?
Yeah, I'm like, it's the B word. A B lender?
No, I think right now it's a bit of a weird market. We still don't have a ton of product, but buyers are being more selective. The lower end of the market moves because it's in high demand, and it will continue that way. That's not going to change. Mid-level market, I think, sees the most challenges because the buyers are being picky with their dollars.
Yep.
They're not just buying it. People got a little spoiled because everything was selling, but now, if your home hasn't been painted in 15 years, the buyers just might not rush to it.
Nope.
There's just a less of a sense of urgency, and I think we're going to continue to see that mid-level market grow in inventory, and then once you get into luxury, that's a little bit of a case-by-case, area-by-area situation, but mid-level, I think, is the biggest challenge area, or where we could see the biggest stalls.
Yeah,
by
I agree.
September.
Yeah, I agree. And the market last year, we were good April, May, and June, died right up till October, and then after October, it plummeted again. I think we're going to be faced with the same thing, personally.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll definitely see right now. One thing that I guess it's a bit of a saving grace is that people feel finally they can move up. So
Yes.
people that have been in their homes and they didn't want to jump into the craziness of the competitions, and now they're looking and they're seeing that inventory grow. They're going, okay, maybe I'll be able to put in an offer and have it accepted contingent on the sale of my home.
Yeah, tons of that.
And that went away for years. And I've already dealt with like 5 SOBPs this year.
Yep.
So, that's becoming more, which is kind of nice for the local buyers. They're not,
Absolutely.
They have a little bit of wiggle room in there, but I don't think we're going to see any big swings in either way.
No, I agree. I totally agree. Well, anyway, you've been wonderful. You going to come out again?
If you'll have me.
Yes, bye. Thank you so much for joining us today.